So beginning the practice by finding this comfortable seat and drawing yourself into the breath, into the body, is that kind of marker maybe that this is now time for you to move how you want to move, to work with the sensations, the feelings that are happening in your body. As you draw your attention inwards, you might be happy to close the eyes here, or you might prefer to draw your gaze to look down towards the floor. Work instead on softening through the face and the jaw. And for these first few moments of just about any practice, you're taking stock, but not necessarily feeling like you need to change anything. So you drop into the role of observer, noticing how your body is, noticing maybe what your breath does, noticing your mood, your energy level, building up a picture in your mind of the version of yourself that you've brought onto the mat today. And again, try not to judge or want to change that version of yourself. Instead, just accepting it for what it is right now and noticing change, noticing difference as we make our way through. We're going to take a last couple of breaths here in stillness and quiet. One more breath. And then when you feel ready, we're going to pair up an action with the breath. Hopefully you won't even need to open your eyes if they're closed. Don't feel like you need to. You can have a quick peek if you want to. As you breathe in, your palms are going to face towards the ceiling and you'll draw the hands up. The hands come up in level with the chest as if you were drawing the air in and up to the center of the chest. And as you exhale, the palms are going to turn to face down as you press the exhale out. You work it as quickly or as slowly as you like, matching it up with your breath. The inhale draws the hands upwards as if you were gathering that breath up and inwards. The exhale flips the palms and presses down. Nice, we'll stick with that. Working it at your own time. Goes up and in. We'll go for one more like this and then maybe we'll add on. This time, the inhale draws the hands to the center. And the exhale presses out towards the sides of the room as if you're expanding into a bubble that is around you. You can really enjoy that push outwards. Your inhale is going to gather up overhead. Your exhale will draw down any way that makes sense for you. So maybe it's palms of the hands facing down exactly as we had before. Maybe it's hands in namaskar, whatever works for you, whatever feels right. We'll stick with that. Inhale to draw up. Exhale to push out. Inhale to gather up overhead. Exhale to draw down. We're going to go for two more. Work it at your own rhythm. Find the pace that suits your breath here. And maybe you can also find your favorite bit. So this push out is my favorite bit. It's the bit that makes most sense to me. But maybe there's a bit of it that really speaks to you, that feels kind of delicious in your body at this time in the morning. There's a little bit of kind of simple visualization that can pair with it. You draw the breath in and up. You expand the breath out. You gather up all that energy overhead. And you draw it in and down towards the body. Nice. We'll come back to stillness at the end of this exhale breath. Pause here. Notice how the body feels. Notice how it is to connect with the breath. And we're going to work a little bit of touch here. So bear with me on this if you've not done it before. I think it might be quite new for some of us. And again, it's that idea, we're a little bit touch limited at the minute. So it's nice to find interesting new ways of physically connecting with ourselves as we work in these sorts of practices. So we'll start with the right hand. You're going to extend the right arm out in front, elbow is soft, shoulder is soft. Right hand points, fingertips down toward the floor, but not hard. Not so that you're kind of forcing the hand back, just allowing the hand to hang towards the floor as much as the wrist joint is going to. And then from there, it's really straightforward. You're going to slide the left hand along the forearm, over the wrist, palm of the hand, and you're going to encourage the fingers to draw the hand back, keep the elbows soft. And you can do that again if you really enjoy the sensation of sliding the hand down the forearm and then encouraging the palm open, the fingers back. Or you might pause there with one hand connected to the other, finding that stretch. Elbow soft, shoulder soft as much as you're able to. Breath is steady. It doesn't really matter what you're up to with the breath. Just keep it slow and steady. If you're holding your breath, chances are you're pushing too hard. And then we'll let it go. We'll release that. We'll do the same on the other side. So again, it's very soft. It's whatever you want it to be, really. You can keep moving or you can stay still. The left shoulder is soft, the left elbow is bent, the left hand hangs down as much as it's going to naturally. You're not forcing and jamming it back. The right hand covers the forearm. You slide the right hand down the forearm, wrist, palm of the hand, and then into the fingers. Maybe you enjoyed the action, so you could choose to repeat it. You can do it as slow as you like. You can apply as much pressure as you like. That fleshy part of the thumb is a nice part of the hand to slide down the forearm, especially if you're trapped at a keyboard for the majority of these days. That is a nice place to get into. We'll hold here maybe for another breath. And then we'll let that go. Maybe you want to roll the shoulders, give the hands a bit of a squeeze or a shake, and we're coming into a different version of a similar shape. You can adjust your sitting position if you need to. You're going to, when you're ready, inhale the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, soften your shoulders, soften your elbows, because we're going to keep the hands overhead for a little while, and I don't want you to be kind of rigid reaching up. So the hands, the shoulders, as soft as they need to be. You're going to bring the back of the palm of the left hand onto the back of the right hand. And then from there, it's really straightforward, and you make it what you want it to be. The left hand slides down the back of the right arm. So as slowly or as quickly as you like, past the back of the elbow, back of the arm. Your head will have to get out of the way naturally. So you'll find left ear drops over to left shoulder as you slide along the back of the shoulder and up the side of the neck. From there, you're sliding down the front of the neck, front of the shoulder, grazing past the armpit, front of the arm, elbow, forearm, and back until the palms come together, up and over on your right. The elbows can be soft, the arms can be as low as you need. We'll do that one more time. Left hand on the back of the right, and you're sliding down. You're noticing the contact, the warmth of one hand against the arm, noticing the texture of the skin on the arm. Back of the shoulder, you lean the left ear to the left shoulder. That is maybe your moment to reach away with the right arm, finding that big stretch down the side of the neck, encouraged by the fingertips, and then you're back across the front of the chest, front of the shoulder, bicep, hollow of the elbow, forearm, back up to the hand. We'll do the same on the other side. So when you're ready, inhale, reset both arms overhead. Soften shoulders, soften elbows. Maybe soften in the neck and the head if you want to. Right hand is coming across onto the back of the left. And when you're ready, you're finding that slide, that stroke down the back of the left arm, elbow, bicep. The head naturally has to sort of get out of the way a little bit so that you can find that stroke up the back and the side of the neck. And then you're coming back across the front of the neck, front of the shoulder, raise past the armpit, through the hollow of the elbow, forearm, wrist, palms of the hands meet back up. One more time, sliding through the back of the left hand, back of the left arm. You can keep that going pretty fluid at the pace that suits you. I move quite slowly here, but maybe you're moving quicker. If you're moving quicker, you can always squeeze in another round of this movement if you want to. When you're coming back up the front, notice Maybe a difference in texture of the skin, the soft inner of the wrist, palms of the hands meet back. Then from there, we'll inhale both arms up overhead. Keep it easy, and then you'll roll through the wrists all the way to come down. I mean, why not? When you get the wrists to chest height, maybe you'll change the direction you're rolling, roll them the other way. So you get both ways in. It's quite hard to teach that and sort of talk and not get sucked into it. I could do that for hours. I could do that for hours very happily. So from here, we're making our way over onto all fours. You can swing the legs out and around behind you, or you can roll up and over the knees, whatever suits you, to make your way onto all fours. And on all fours, we'll start on the flats of the hands, but we're going to change that up so that we're not kind of jamming into the wrists too much too early, especially because we've been thinking about the kind of pleasant elements of touch rather than dumping down into the wrists. So we'll start with our cat-cow, keeping things simple and familiar, spreading out through the fingertips. On your inhale, when you're ready, you go for it and drop the belly low. Lift the tailbone, the gaze. Exhale, pull the belly in, as if the spine was drawing up towards the ceiling and the belly draws in towards the spine. Looking in towards your knees. I say it a lot, but I think it's important. It doesn't have to be the biggest movement you can manage. It might be pretty early in the day for some of us, so go into this as much as makes sense for you. Maybe you're keeping it small. Maybe you're thinking about it as a segmented movement. Maybe you're just thinking about the upper back. Maybe you're just thinking about the lower back. We'll go for one more breath, having a bit of a wiggle here through our cat-cow. We're not done with cat-cow, but we're just going to change the position. So after this next exhale, draw yourself through to a neutral spine, flat back. And you're just going to switch the hands on the floor for loose fists. And when I say loose fists, what I mean is you're resting on the flat knuckles that are nearest the back of the hand. The thumb is loosely on the outside of that fist. And the hands, you should have nice straight line through the arms. Wrists are straight here. And we'll just keep going in that cat-cow. If being on the knuckles doesn't work for you, you're welcome to swap back to the hands. But as you inhale, see how it feels to drop the belly low, broaden the collarbones, lift the gaze. As you exhale, pull the belly in, push the floor away through the knuckles, through the knees. Inhale to drop. And it just feels, I think, surprisingly different to not be on the flats of the hands. Lots of people report feeling they have more space, actually, when you come up on knuckles, particularly in that round in the upper back, there's a bit more room. We'll work through maybe 2 more breaths. So 2 full breaths after this one. And then taking a last roll through. Our cat-cow, making it whatever you need it to be. Wiggle if you want to, it doesn't have to stay linear. Nice, and from here, we'll release off the knuckles, bring the hands to the floor, just give the knuckles a bit of a break. You might notice that actually feels surprisingly intense when you unfurl them, so don't worry. We're coming into passive hands. Walk the hands out in front slightly, and then they're going over towards the right. And mine are going to disappear off the camera. There will be a point over here on the right, which makes sense for you. Lots of us probably could just keep going round if we wanted to, but there'll be an angle over here, about 45 degrees, that sort of makes sense as a place to stop. Take an inhale there, broaden the back. Exhale, you're going to use the hands to push the hips back towards the heels, lengthening down the left-hand side of the body. Maybe the forehead comes down to find the floor, but it doesn't have to. So you're keeping active, or you're dropping into a passive stretch here. This, I didn't really think this had a name in yoga, but I found out last night that it does have a name in Pilates, which is usually the other way around. Usually we name stuff in yoga and we don't name it in Pilates, but in Pilates this is called lion stretch. Really nice way to get into the facet joints. So as active or as passive as you like, movement if you want it. And then on your next inhale, you'll draw yourself back forwards in the direction of your hands. Try not to sort of twist off to center, and then walk yourself back into neutral. Coming back through neutral, you can have a wiggle or pause, make any changes that you need to, and then we'll do the same on the other side. So I'm going towards the left, but it doesn't matter which direction you're going. There'll be a place over here on this side that makes sense for you to pause. Inhale there, broaden the back. Exhale to press, hips back towards the heels, length all the way down the right hand side of the body, and you're as active or as passive as you like here. There's a real kind of lovely animal stretching quality to this. So see if you maybe like the sensation of leaning into that. Maybe it feels good for you to lengthen the back of the neck, release the forehead to the floor, whatever works. On your next inhale, you're going to draw the body forwards back onto the hands. And then walk the hands in, they come back through center. And then just going to keep on coming in towards the body so you can bring yourself to kneeling. If kneeling is uncomfortable, inaccessible for you, you are welcome to stay lifted, so not putting any pressure back through the ankles, or to come to sit in a different position if sitting works better. I think we did this, I feel like we may have done this before, so if so, you'll recognise it. It's a big inhale when you're ready to draw the arms up and overhead. And then as you exhale, you're interlacing the fingers and releasing the hands onto the back of the head. And again, see if you can tap into the touch that is happening here. So I'm going to actually turn around so you can see the back of my head. My thumbs are extending down the sides of my neck, and the cross of my index fingers is really hooked under and supporting that occipital ridge back of the skull. So my head feels really supported and sort of cradled there. So when we work with the breath here, you're not allowing the head to kind of lunge back and coming into a really deep back bend, but instead you're really looking to support and cradle the head. On your inhale, you're going to spread out through the elbows, maybe lift the gaze and let the head hang into the hands. And on your exhale, your elbows draw up, over and in, as if you were diving in towards your own kneecaps. And I'm not pulling on the back of the head here. The head is just tucking in as much as makes sense. The elbows draw down. We'll reverse that. Inhale to open up, to cradle, to lift and lengthen the back of the neck to support the head completely. Exhale, roll up, over and in, drawing the elbows towards the belly button. We'll go one last time. Inhale to open, broaden the elbows, use the thumbs down the sides of the neck to lift and lengthen the back of the neck, support the head. Exhale to tuck in, elbows up, over and round, in and down towards the knees, pull the belly in and round. This time as you inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead, allow the chest to unfurl. And as you exhale, you're drawing both hands down behind your back. And you've got choices here. Maybe you're interlacing all 10 fingers behind the back and creating a fist. Maybe you're grabbing hold of opposite wrists if that suits you better. Maybe you're up, lifted away from the ankles, or maybe you've switched to cross-legged if you need to. Wherever you are, inhale, you're going to lengthen the arms down and away from the back body, lifting the chest, probably lifting the gaze a little bit here as well. Shoulders knitting together on the back body. You can move as much as you want to. Take a breath in here. As you exhale, bend your elbows. It's surprisingly hard to get the elbows to gently bend in this position. You're going to scooch that fist you've made with the hands over towards the top of your right bum cheek. Maybe it comes up beside your right hip. Maybe it's snuggling into the right side of your waist. Once you've got that fist tucked in, you're going to allow the right ear to drop towards the right shoulder and find a big stretch down the side of the neck. If this is too intense, you can back off with the positioning of the hands. You might be moving through the chin, tilting down, tilting up. Take a last breath here. And then on your next inhale, you're going to straighten the arms back out, find that stretch back behind you, lift and lengthen through the chest as the shoulder blades knit together. And then as you exhale, you'll bend the elbows, take that fist over towards the top of your left bum cheek or left hip, or maybe that fist tucks up and in onto the inside of the left waist, and then from there, it's left ear, falling across towards left shoulder. Right shoulder drops down and away, and you're long down the right-hand side of the neck. Quite a big stretch into the front of the neck and the side of the neck there. You're either maybe tilting the chin down, lifting up, whatever works for you. On your next inhale, you're going to lengthen that fist back behind you. Last time, roll the shoulders towards one another. And as you exhale, you'll just let it go, release the hands, maybe have a roll or a wiggle of the shoulders if you need to, a bit of a stretch, whatever works for you. From here, we're making our way into our first downward facing dog. And because we're working with that sensation of shoulders and chest, I want you to think about downward facing dog as a chest and shoulder opener. So it's not something we often think about. We think of it as a rest pose, we think of it as a hamstring stretch. It is a chest and shoulder shape as well. So we'll bring the hands onto the floor, tuck the toes underneath us, send the hips back to the heels. Use your inhale breath to fire up through hands, and then as you exhale, let the legs unfurl. And as you work your way gently into your first downward facing dog here, you're going to think about that sensation of space in the armpits, across the front of the chest, maybe at the throat as the crown of the head hangs heavy. And then from there, you're welcome to make any movements that you feel like you need to, having a wiggle out through the legs, bumping the hips left and right, any kind of pedal or way of settling into this that suits you, you're welcome to it. Maybe you shake the head no, nod the head yes. A couple of deep knee bends might feel like they're what you want. Maybe you're stretching and straightening down the backs of the legs, but the knees can stay as bent as you need them. The heels do not have to touch the floor. Come back to stillness in your downward facing dog. Settle in here. Take an inhale breath. Exhale, maybe you want to have a sigh. Then inhale, you're going to come high on the tiptoes and draw the body forwards, rolling your way out to plank. It does not have to be the most perfect rollout, but when you get to plank, adjust as much as you need to find yourself in a strong plank here. A little moment of fire coming up, so feel free to release the knees and do this on the knees in a half plank if you need to. Find yourself in plank, take an inhale. Exhale, bend the elbows, dip the chest halfway. Inhale to push up. Nice. 2 more like that. Exhale, dip the elbows, bring the body down halfway. Inhale to push up. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale to press. And then from there, if you can, hips high, and you're back to your downward facing dog to rest it out. If you need to drop the knees and move to a child's pose instead, that is totally fine. But this downward facing dog should, after that, hopefully feel like a rest position, a place where you can let the body just soften for a moment. So we'll take the arms in the opposite direction. Inhale to draw yourself forwards to plank, coming high on the toes, rolling through the belly. Hip plank inhale, don't worry, no more of those. That was it for the class, no more. Inhale here. Exhale, release the knees to the floor. Inhaling again. Exhale, let the body release to the floor, hopefully in one piece with as much control as you've got. And then from there, you're going to lengthen the arms out in front of you. I'm just shuffling back so you can see my hands. Fingertips, palms of the hands are together in prayer. You're stretching the middle fingernail out for the front of the room as you lengthen down the back of the neck and bring the forehead down onto the floor, back of the neck nice and long. Stretch the arms away and then bend up at the elbows, bringing that shark fin up and back behind the back of your head. Should feel like there is a bit of a stretch down the backs of the arms, in the armpit. Maybe the lower back, the hips, the glutes, the legs are able to relax completely and soften here. And then when you're ready, stretch out long through the arms. Stroke the hands in, they're coming underneath the shoulders. You'll use them to push yourself back. We'll come up to stand a slightly different way. So if you need to adjust the feet, you can do. Mine have just got too far away from me. You're going to tuck the toes underneath and walk the hands in towards your knees. You're going to keep walking as you roll yourself up into a little toes pose type squat. We're not here for very long. If this isn't your thing, you can come up to a forward fold. So from here, maybe you're able to keep the fingers on the floor, body reaching forwards as you lower the heels gently to the floor, probably quite a big stretch in the back of the ankle, back of the calf. And then from there, we're just going to lift and work our way to something that is a bit more like a familiar forward fold. Maybe there's a bit of movement, you're pedaling out through the legs. Maybe you want to grab hold of opposite elbows and find that open armpit sensation, similar to where we just were when we were on the floor. You're moving as much as you want to, as little as you want to. Just taking an extra couple of breaths in our forward fold. And then I want you to imagine Those children's entertainers that work with giant bubbles. I hope you know what I mean. So they sometimes draw the bubble up around their body, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to think about grabbing hold at the bottom, so 2 fists close to the floor, bend the knees as much as you need to allow that to happen, and you're going to draw up as if you were pulling a bubble up and around the body, rolling through the spine, pull, 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 comes up past the chest. You're lifting it up and over the face as the head lifts. When you get to the top, you'll release out through the hands and draw yourself back to stand, arms come wide. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, don't worry, you get to do it again. So that's great. Find yourself steady on 2 feet. Big inhale, draws the arms up and overhead. Exhale, you're folding down any way you like. Bend the knees as much as you need to get down there, softly into your forward fold. In your forward fold at the bottom, you're going to grab a hold. This time, imagine the bubble is made from treacle. It's made from golden syrup, and you're going to have to pull harder and wriggle more. So as you pull the bubble up around you, imagine you are wriggling your way into it, as if you're sort of wriggling your way into a very sticky sleeping bag. Maybe it goes over to one side, up towards the other side. Draw that bubble up, moving in ways which feel good, comes up past the face. And at the top, you'll release it up and out, soften the hands, draw the hands all the way around and down. Nice. Find yourself steady somewhere in a clear space that you're practicing in, and we'll just work a little more movement in the kind of upper body, back body before we start to come into a more kind of formal flow. So when you're ready, inhale the arms up and overhead. You're going to interlace all 10 fingers at the top and press the palms of the hands up towards the ceiling. Big inhale there. And as you exhale, pull the belly in, bend the knees round the back, push the hands out in front. So tuck in the tailbone underneath you a little bit. Inhale, you'll lift, squeeze the glutes, straighten the legs, lift the gaze. Exhale to round, bend the knees, pull the belly in. And then from here, inhale to draw up and overhead. Exhale, and my favorite words, you can move this in any direction you want to. So maybe you're rolling, I'll show you from the side. Maybe you're rolling the body in circles. Maybe you're sticking with that linear shape. Maybe that felt good to you. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Allow the body to move. If interlacing the fingers doesn't feel good for you, reach out through the hands instead. The hands don't have to stay together. They can move independently of one another. You don't have to keep the hands locked together the whole time. See if you can work with that idea of flexion and extension in the spine, but in a way that feels good for you. This is the moment where you wish that you'd kick that person who's sitting in the corner of the room out, so there's nobody watching you. Maybe there's nobody watching you, and you can get as weird as you like if that's the case. Really enjoy it. And then we'll inhale and draw our way back through to center. No hurry, no rush. Finish off whatever you're up to. And then bringing yourself back. The hands travel down any way that suits you. So maybe they come down through prayer. Maybe they spread out wide by your sides. Maybe you wiggle your fingers right the way down, jazz hand style, whatever suits you. Find yourself steady. Cool. We'll start to move into a bit of a flow. So starting to pick up the pace a little bit, starting to kind of fire up the body, just checking the time, starting to fire up the body a little bit here. We're going to work through this probably 3 times. We'll add something on in that 3rd time. So find yourself somewhere near the front of the space you're practicing in, steady on 2 feet. And as you inhale, you're going to sweep the fingertips down and along the floor. You're going to sit the bum low and lift into your chair pose. Well, I wasn't too worried about you seeing the top of my head, but you're pleased. So tuck of a slight pulling of the belly, slight lengthening in the tailbone, lift of the chest. Just have a quick glance down and you can see your big toes. If you can't see your big toes, you need to shift that body weight back more. Send your bum back. Big inhale here. Exhale, sweep the fingers back behind you so you can keep the body in chair. Interlace all 10 fingers. This is your halfway lift moment. You're going to inhale, lift the chest, stretch away. You're going to exhale, bow the body over the legs. Maybe you let that fist come up and over, or maybe it just rests on your lower back. Whatever works for you. From there, releasing the fingers as gently as you can. The fingertips will come down and find the floor. Fingertips to the floor, you'll send the right leg back behind you. The right leg steps back long, and you'll release the right knee gently down to the mat. If you need to put some padding underneath the right knee, you're welcome to do that if the floor that you're working on is a bit hard. When you feel steady here, when you've got it stable, you'll inhale both fingertips up and overhead. Both sets of fingertips, aka both hands, not what we're talking about anymore. From here, just check you're stable, and then once you've got yourself nice and steady, you're going to nudge the hips forwards in space as you broaden across the chest. Inhale, lift. Exhale, draw down. Imagine you've got that bungee cord overhead, the elbows draw open, cactus arms, maybe the elbows a little bit back behind the shoulders. Inhale to sweep it up and forwards. Exhale to draw down, one more time. Elbows hug down, firing on the muscles underneath the armpits. Inhale to draw up. This time, fingertips come down to find the floor. Fingertips to the floor. Plant the palms, tuck the back toes, pop the back knee, and from here you're stepping to downward facing dog. So you're stepping left foot back, the hips are high, shuffle the feet as many times as you need to adjust your way there. You can step a couple of times back to downward dog. It doesn't have to be one big step. Notice the sensation in the armpits, chest, shoulders. Take an inhale breath here. Exhale, maybe a sigh. And as you inhale, you're going to look forward to come high on the tiptoes, roll it out to plank. Hit plank, take a big inhale. Exhale, release the knees gently down to the floor. Lovely moment of relief. Inhale here. Exhale to lower, body comes down onto the mat. I'm just going to scooch these props over a little bit so I've got some space. And then you're bringing the fingertips out off the mat. The elbows pop up towards the ceiling. Fingertips are going to support you. So the pads of the fingertips press down firmly into the floor. This is my favourite version of Cobra at the minute. So as you inhale, you're going to keep the chin tucked, press the hip bones down into the floor, squeeze the glutes, and rise through the body, lifting the gaze at the very last moment. As you exhale, you reverse. So you lengthen the body to the floor, and you lower the gaze at the very last moment, lengthening the back of the neck. We'll do 2 more. Inhale to rise. Chins tucked, you draw up, finger pads press into the mat. Exhale, you lower. Gaze lowers at the last moment. I'm making this shape quite big. If you're moving a little bit smaller than I am, that is fine. You don't have to come up as high as I am showing you. Exhale to lower. Gaze drops, lengthen the back of the neck. Slide the hands in underneath the shoulders and see if there is a moment here that you can enjoy as you transition your way back towards downward facing dog. Maybe there's a sweet spot here with the lovely stretches of backs of the arms and the armpits, and then when you're ready, the hips are high and we make our way back to downward facing dog. No hurry to get there. You've got a sort of extra breath here, so if you needed to pause in child's pose, you'd be more than welcome to. If you need to take some movement, you are free to do that. Inhale, look forwards between your hands. And as you exhale, you'll walk feet towards hands. Maybe a couple of big steps, maybe a jump. Maybe you've stepped your way up to a forward fold. Hanging out in your forward fold. Steady yourself here. And when you're ready, it's an inhale to bend the knees, to sweep the fingertips along the floor, to lift back to chair. Lift and lengthen through the front of the body. Fingertips reach for the ceiling. Big breath in here. And as you exhale, hands will travel down through heart center as you fire the feet into the floor, push the ground away, come back to stand. That squeeze of the glutes, pushing the hips forward, should hopefully feel quite nice as you come up to stand steady here. Set yourself somewhere near the top of the space you're practicing in. We'll do that one more time. And then we'll test out something else. Steady on the feet. Maybe a check-in with the breath. Are you still breathing? Nice. And then from here, fingertips sweep along the floor as you rise into your chair. Sit the bum low. Inhale to lift through the center of the chest. So if arms overhead like this is just too much stress in your shoulders, don't forget you've always got the option of fingertips reaching out in front instead, as if you're holding a box somewhere out in front of the chest. So checking you can see your big toes. See if you can maybe sit a little inch lower as you inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, sweep the hands back around behind you. Hold your chair as you inhale, lengthen that fist away from you. This is your halfway lift sensation. Exhale to fold. Let the chest melt over the thighs. Maybe that fist you've made with the hands floats up and overhead. So releasing the fingers as gently as you can. Maybe you need to lower them so that you can release them one at a time. And then from there, fingertips to stabilize you as you send a left leg back behind you. Your left leg goes back, left knee finds the floor. Get some padding if you need it. Untuck those left toes. Stabilize yourself first. Inhale, you'll rise, sweeping the fingertips up and overhead. So just a little moment to check in. So if you've come up and you're a bit like sort of wobbly all over the place, just a moment to adjust hands and feet, knee and foot if you need to. Inhale to lift. Exhale to nudge the hips forwards in space. And as you exhale this time, you'll draw the elbows down. Drawing the elbows down, broadening across the chest. Firing up those muscles underneath the arms. Inhale, you'll sweep forwards. As you sweep forwards, you might pull away from that lunge into the left thigh. And then as you exhale, you might be able to descend back into it, drawing the elbows down. Inhale to rise up. Exhale, float fingertips to the floor. Hands to find the floor, tuck the back toes. Pop the back knee, we're stepping to downward facing dog, remember. So when you're ready, right foot joins the left and the hips are high. Hips are high. You make any movements you need to, adjust your hands and feet. And then as you inhale, you're going to come high on the tiptoes. You'll pull the belly in and ripple it forwards. Roll your way up to plank. Hip plank, take your inhale. Exhale, maybe you're lowering the knees to release the body to the floor, or maybe you're descending the body in one straight line to hit the mat. Once you are down there, bring your fingertips out. Elbows pop up towards the ceiling. And you're getting to grips with this shape now, maybe a little bit more. If you know it irritates your lower back, separate your feet a bit more. Give yourself a bit more space. Squeeze the glutes, and when you're ready, we'll ripple through that cobra variation 3 times. Inhaling to rise. Exhaling to lower. Pads of the fingers grounding down. You'll lift, lengthen through the throat right at the end. You'll exhale, descend, and lengthen through the back of the neck right at the end. Last one. Making it your own. If you're struggling, squeeze the glutes. Press the tops of the feet down into the floor. Exhale, you'll lower. Hands come underneath the shoulder blades. Your moment here as you press your way back to downward facing dog. There might just be a bit of this, which is delicious. Maybe you like the sensation of rounding. Maybe you're actively stretching hips to heels. And then when you're ready, there is no rush. We'll meet back in downward facing dog, hips high. And then from here, when you're ready, it's an inhale to look forwards between the hands, to step, maybe a couple of big steps or lots of small ones, or maybe one big jump up to find your forward fold. Hanging out over the legs, feet a hip width distance apart. A breath here if you need it. There's no rush to move on, so you take these moments of softness in between, and when you're ready, the inhale is going to sweep the fingertips along the floor. Sit the bum low like a counterbalance as the fingertips rise. Settle yourself into your chair pose. Inhale here. Exhale, hands through heart center as you fire the feet down. Squeeze the glutes forwards, bring yourself to stand. Lovely, very nice. Last round, something slightly different here. Find yourself steady on your feet. We'll move into it the same way. This is your last little round of chair poses. I never really worked from chair, so it's a nice place to sort of mix things up a little bit. Steady your breath. When you feel ready, it's an inhale. Sweep fingertips low, lift through the chest, and the gaze might lift slightly up towards the fingertips as you draw yourself into chair. As you exhale, slide the hands round back behind you. Make that fist. Inhale, halfway lift sensation. Lengthen through the chest, reach that fist away. Exhale to descend. Long over the legs, maybe turning the shoulders inside out. Release through the fingertips as gently as you can. They'll come down to find the floor. And from there, you're going to step back, whichever leg steps back into a long lunge and means you can still see the camera nice and easy. So for me, it's my left leg, so I can demonstrate to you here. But it doesn't matter which leg you've stepped back with, because we're going to come towards both. From there, you're going to roll the heel of that foot you've stepped back down onto the floor, 45-degree angle between the feet, so you can cartwheel your way up to find a strong warrior two. Maybe I should have said warrior two at the start, and then you'd have known where you were going. But finding yourself in warrior two so that you can still see the camera, we're flipping this around, so we'll test it out on both sides. So settle yourself in, feeling that kind of really solid, steady sensation of warrior two, as if the whole body was trying to draw up towards the center line. So the thighs are active, the heels draw in towards the midline. The gaze is lifted over those middle fingernails. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, I want you to sweep the hands around and back behind you, interlacing all 10 fingers behind the back body. So inhale, you're going to lift and lengthen through the chest. Exhale, you're going to dip the body onto the inside of that right thigh. So we're coming into a humble warrior. And I'm not so interested here in you touching the crown of the head to the floor and being perfectly still in a lovely, perfect humble warrior. I'm more interested in it feeling good in your body. So if you need to move your right foot out to the right slightly to make space for you to come down onto the inside of that right leg, you can do. And if when you come down here it's a bit intense and you need to make some movements in order for it to feel bearable, please do. The other version you've got is you can lift, if you need to, that back heel slightly. Try not to rest your belly against your front thigh. Take a last inhale here, a last exhale to soften into it. And then as you inhale, you're lifting as if somebody was drawing you up by that fist back behind you. It doesn't matter if you come up into a slightly scruffy position, that's fine. So we'll release the fist. We'll draw the front foot back in through center so we can bring ourselves to our warrior two. Nice. Exhale, soften, shoulders away from the ears. Feel solid, feel grounded. And then from here, you're going to push your way out of your lunge and turn your front foot in. So you should end up in a wide-legged forward fold. Wide-legged forward fold type shape. No, just a wide-legged shape. We're going to add the forward fold. Inhale, the arms are expanding out and up. Exhale, you'll soften and lower into it. Find that hinge at the hips as you draw yourself down. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Maybe the fingertips come to find the floor. And you can really, so we're just pausing here in the middle. We're just pausing in this inversion. If you've got anything that you are desperate keen to move into here, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, you might just think about finding a little bit of movement and a bit of softness. So maybe you want that sensation of more shoulder opening. You're interlacing the fingers and stretching the arms behind the back. Maybe you're really thinking about active forward fold, drawing the body down. But maybe you're just finding it a bit soft, a place where you can let the head hang. Maybe a shake of the head, maybe a nod of the head, maybe wiggles in the knees. And then when you're ready, there isn't any hurry here. But whatever you've been up to, you'll gently, carefully return back to a forward fold, pretty soft. So you're going to put a bend in the knees, bring the hands to the hips, and inhale to rise. Push the floor away. Bring yourself back to the top. Nice. From here, we're turning out your opposite toes. So whichever ones weren't the front toes before, turn them out. For me, it's the left. And you're sitting down into your warrior two on this side, inhaling to expand out through the fingertips. Exhale, we'll sweep the hands back behind us. So we're making our way into that humble warrior on this side. And again, I'm not interested in the forehead on the arch of the foot or anything like that. You make this feel as you want it to feel. So it's an inhale to lift and lengthen, to expand through the chest, and an exhale to bow the body down towards the inside of the left thigh. You move that left foot over to the side if you need to. You make movements with the body if that feels good. Maybe you've got to lift those back toes just slightly. It's going to make it a bit more of a balance challenge if you do that. So see if you can let the toes ground down into the floor, quite solid. They'll help to steady the body. Take a last breath here. And then on your inhale, as if you're being drawn up by that fist back behind you, you'll lift back to where you started. Expand it out into your warrior two. Nice. And then from here, we'll turn the toes that we turned out in, pushing away out of our lunge. We'll fold into it here, why not? Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to fold the body down over the legs. Any way you want, it can be quite scruffy. We're just using it as a transition. From there, fingertips are going to walk towards your front foot, whichever one is near the space at the front of where you're practicing. And you'll step your way back in your own time to your downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, hips are high, have a wiggle, have a stretch. Make as much movement here as you feel like you need to. Maybe you prefer to be still. And then when you're ready, you're going to look forwards between the hands, and this time you'll lower gently, slowly, the knees to the floor. Allow the knees to come down to the mat. And back into a familiar shape, untucking the toes. You'll walk the hands just slightly out in front of you, and then over towards whichever direction makes sense. For me, I'm going to the right first. Out towards the right, you'll take an inhale, broaden the back. Exhale, and you'll press back. Hips towards the heels, back into this kind of lovely lion stretch, this animal shape. Except for maybe this time the forehead does want to rest down on the floor. Maybe you're able to make this quite soft. You're beginning to slow and settle through the body. When you're ready, draw yourself back forwards onto all fours. There is no hurry. You know where we're going, so you can always catch us up, walk your way through to center. If you're not ready to move, you are welcome to linger there and just catch us up on the other side. So coming over to the other side, about a 45-degree angle off to the side. When I say broaden the back body, what I'm looking for is space between the shoulder blades. There's something in that creating space, pushing the floor away, that then feels really lovely when you exhale to push back, hips towards the heels. Maybe the knees are slightly wider than hip width distance. The forehead might rest down on the floor, but it doesn't have to. Look for something here that feels really nice in your body. If it doesn't feel nice, you're welcome to reconsider, to rethink, to try something else. And when you're ready, use your next inhale to draw forwards. Walking hands back in through center. We're going to, if you haven't already, definitely take the knees a little wider than hip width distance apart. Maybe the feet are coming in a touch so that you can push your way back into just your straight, kind of as it comes, child's pose. Except for we'll reach the arms out long in front. We'll lengthen the back of the neck as the forehead finds the floor. And bringing the hands together, you've got the option of bending up the elbows and bringing that little shark fin up and over the back of the head. If this doesn't suit you at this point in the practice, you're welcome to leave it and just have a nice soft extended arms, soft shoulders. If you're enjoying this tricep armpit stretch, you can walk the elbows away for a little bit more intensity if that suits you. See if you can get the face to soften. See if you can get the jaw to be soft. Feel the belly expanding against the thighs as you breathe in. The back ribs softening as you breathe out. Then when you're ready, extend out through the arms. Draw the fingertips in towards the knees. As you take the spine in the other direction, you're going to roll your way up to kneeling. That might feel like a really lovely place to go slowly. Stack the vertebrae of the spine right the way back to center. And then from here, we're making our way over onto our back. So if you want to get a jumper, some socks, or a blanket, or anything that you feel like you need for your Shavasana, you're welcome to do that here. Feel free to grab them. We won't rush our way down into stillness, so you've got some time if you do want to get yourself settled and comfortable. And when you are ready, there isn't really any fancy way of bringing yourself down. You're just going to bring yourself down onto the floor. And a couple of suggestions as to things that might feel nice here when you come down onto your back. Although you can move in any way that feels right for you, you might choose to draw the knees towards the chest and just give the lower back a little bit of a roll. That might feel like quite a nice place to be. Maybe you want to think about dropping knees from one side to the other, rolling your way through a gentle spinal twist. Maybe you want to pause with the knees over in one direction. Maybe, and then for a couple of breaths, and then maybe find it on the other side. Another thing that can feel really nice as a way to get the lower back to soften is taking the feet a little wider than the mat maybe, and just letting the knees fall in towards one another. That can feel nice across the lower belly, hips, lower back. So just encouraging you to find a little bit of movement before you drop yourself into stillness, and you're moving in whatever way feels right for you. So maybe you've gone for shoulder stand, maybe you've gone for bridge, maybe you are taking an easy spinal twist both directions. And then when you do feel ready to settle down, and again, there's no rush, no hurry, but when you do feel ready to draw the body into stillness, you might think about floating the arms down by the sides, or maybe the hands come to rest on the belly. Maybe one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. Whatever suits you. Maybe you're extending out through the legs. Maybe you need to reach for and organise a blanket here if you want to. And we're just dropping the body into stillness. We're not forcing it down into stillness. We're allowing that stillness to feel like a comfortable place to go. If you think of stillness as a byproduct of comfort, it makes a bit more sense perhaps here. To allow the body to soften into comfort and then naturally become still. So as the body becomes heavy and still and quiet, you might be able to invite the mind to join it. To become heavy and still and quiet. I want to end here with a poem, some words which have been resonating with me recently. It might be a poem you've heard before, by one of my favourite poets, Rudy Francisco. I want the kind of happiness that you can smell in my clothes, and a smile so big you can still see it when I'm walking in the opposite direction. I want to laugh so loud My demons pack their belongings and decide to move somewhere a little more quiet. So these days, I try to take the most mundane things, like waking up or doing laundry, and I challenge myself to carve some joy into every single one. Draw your attention gently back to your breath without feeling the need to move the body at all. Allow the body to be as soft as it is as you become more aware of the breath. And in your own time, you might notice that the breath inevitably brings into the body new, fresh energy, prana, life force, enough energy for a wiggle of the fingertips, a point and flex and stretch of the feet. Maybe you roll the ankles and the wrists. Maybe you like the sensation of rolling the head from one side to the other. When you're ready, there might be enough power in your inhale breath to draw the arms up and overhead for a giant stretch, lengthening the body, fingertips away from toes. And then maybe in your own time, you'll squeeze the knees in towards the chest and give yourself a bit of a hug. There's no rush, no hurry. Roll yourself over whenever it feels like the right moment for you to do so, to your favourite side. Pause there. Move the body kindly as you press yourself gently up to find a comfortable seat. You might keep the eyes closed, maybe the gaze is cast down towards the floor, doing your best to soak up these last few moments of your practice. You can seal your practice any way you like, maybe hands at heart center, maybe bowing the head to the heart, whatever works for you as a gesture of gratitude. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for practicing with me.